International name, fame, everyone wants it. But to start with, yes, national collaboration will lead you and will lead to a formation of a larger group, which will help you form international relations better. Recognition. We all want recognition. One of the reasons we publish is that we want to be recognized as experts in the field. But then again, you have to be first recognized in the local community to be recognized internationally. So recognition, when you publish in your national journals, there will be peers, reviewers, there will be teachers, there will be colleagues, there will be juniors who will recognize you much better and afford you much respect rather than the international community. Language. Now, this is a tricky thing. We are not native English speakers, although English is spoken by the Indians are quoted as the second largest population speaking the language, but it is not native to us. And unfortunately, our language is not up to the mark because this is the second language. This is what we have been taught, and not our mother tongue. So we do falter in our language. We have to take help of professional copy editors, and the West or the international journals do play and lay an important emphasis on the language that is being projected, how it is written, and most important, what we feel, what we think may not be expressed in the language that we speak. So, okay, now there are again differences in the regional differences in the language as it is spoken. Most of you have heard of Shashi Tharoor being an epitome of English language. Now, just to quote him, we call the eggplant brinjal. Now, nowhere in the world in the English language you will hear the word brinjal. So it can be aubergine, it can be eggplant, but it is never brinjal. But brinjal is a word contributed just by the Indian English. So that is why what we feel is correct English may not be correct for them. So again, that is why the geopolitical perspective and the language, they play a major role why you should go in for a language, for a national journal. The impact. Now, as I've said earlier, the impact that your study is going to cause will be much more when it is published in a national journal. It may lead to a change of policy, it may lead to a rethink of a policy, may lead to a change in practices. As I said, that the practices that a country, that the researchers or the physician clinicians practice in a country differs from region to region. So again, the impact of your research may be more when you publish in a national journal. It will bring in more recognition, catch eyes of the authorities. Okay, fine, this is more suited to our perspective rather than the West or any other country. So that is why you can make a larger impact if you publish in the national journal. Diversity. Now, India by itself is very diverse. We have many regions. Now, if we talk of India, we have several zones. India, now many journals divide themselves into various zones. We have the North, South, Central, East, and West. So each zone will represent different practices. They'll represent different languages. They'll represent different racial features. So the diversity that we get in India is matched to no other country. So that is why we are obviously called a subcontinent rather than a country. So the way that the diversity that we have, we can study it in our own country only. And thereby, again, this diversity can be better brought about by a national journal rather than an international journal, which would say, okay, this does not apply to us. But yes, when you publish it in a national journal, that is how the policy change or the effect can be brought about. So remember, the publication is just not for your specification. It is there for a purpose. It is there to bring in new ideas. It is there to bring about a policy change in practices, bring out what is good and practice and make it a habit to what is good. So with that, I would end my talk. Thanks a lot. But I think I should have made it clear why it is important to publish in a national journal vis-a-vis an international journal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was indeed a very crisp and maybe very, very specific presentation. Howsoever, the West is dominating. I think this is the best presentation of importance of publishing in Indian journals. So to all the, attendees, I would like to say that we would have a Q&A session in the end. So if you people have any question and answer, feel free to post it. Along with that, we will have some live questions also if the time permits in the end. So ResearchCon has introduced this much needed step for gaining maximum engagement and opinions of all scholars, which is hosting poll on the topics that needs to be discussed. So here's our first poll of today, after which we will have our chairperson's commentary on the initiative as well as the speaker for today. Yes, so Nikita ma'am, can we have our first poll? So it says, how many of you all would prefer today to publish in national journals after hearing to the valuable insights of our speaker? Yeah, so I guess all of you must have voted and keep voting. Till then, I would like to request Dr. Jyotsna to give her comments.
Thank you, Ketki ma'am. It was a great presentation by Nishant sir. So it was good to hear you. Sir, I have a little query. You have given so many advantages of being your article published in national journals, but still I don't know why people are after international journals. Could you please?
Ma'am, it's the Indian mentality. Sorry to say, but it's the Indian mentality. So I mean, it's simple. I mean, how many of us would like to buy action shoes? We'll prefer Adidas or Nike or Liberty for that matter. We feel that if it's an international thing, it has got to be better.
So a great presentation, sir.
Yes, we have to, break through this mindset. It's just the mindset,
Right.
colonialism that has gone into us, that whatever is, international is bound to be better.
Right. Thank you, sir. It was a great presentation.
Thank you.
So thank you, Jyotsna ma'am, and thank you, Nishant sir. Moving ahead, let me take the honor of introducing our second speaker, respected Dr. C. Ananda Viharved. Sir is an alumnus of JIP MER Pondicherry. He later completed his doctoral degree in medical biochemistry. He is in teaching field for the past 23 years and research for the past 10 years. Possesses about 40 plus publications to his credit. He is a subject expert in the curriculum framing committee for the medical laboratory science program selected by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, New Delhi. For the past 5 years, he is serving as a professor and principal of Sri Venkateshwara College of Paramedical Sciences, Pondicherry. So we welcome you, sir, and request you to please start your presentation for today.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you, sirs and delegates, for giving me this wonderful opportunity today. Hope my slide is visible.
Visible.
Yes,
Sir, it is visible.
Okay. So good evening, everybody. So today I'll be highlighting on the ethical principles in research publication. So before going into the actual ethical practices in research publications, let us have some basic idea about research. What do you mean by publication cycle and introduction to ethics? What is research? So this is time and again repeatedly asked question. Many people will be coming out with many answers, but for the want of time, let me proceed to the next slide. So it is nothing but, to put in a simple term, it is a pursuit of knowledge. The next question, what is the purpose of research? So this is what many people might claim, might be for a promotion and salary raise in this appraisal, but is it so? It's definitely not. So what is the basic purpose of any research? So there are two things people want more than money. Number one, recognition, as Nishanji sir has already told, and next one is a praise. More than money, these are two main things an academician longs in his life. The actual purpose of research might be exploratory, to explore a group of questions, or it can be descriptive, which involves the process of data collection, or it can be explanatory, where the actual running experiments come into play. The publication cycle starts when the author decides to publish something. It might be a review, or it can be his own research article. Then it proceeds to the reviewer. As sir has already told, it goes to the review process, and finally to the editor. And from the editor, it gets published, and it goes to the reader's side. Coming to ethics. So how it can be defined and what is the meaning of ethics? It's also called a moral philosophy. It's a discipline concerned with what is morally good and bad and what is morally right and wrong. This term also applied to any system of moral values or principles theory. Coming to the actual topic of nurturing ethical practices in research publication. Publication of scientific papers is essential for the growth of modern science. Ethical publishing procedures must be fostered to preserve the credibility and integrity of the scientific community. The foundation of any research publishing is trust. Authors trust the editors to choose qualified peer reviewers, and editors trust the peer reviewers to provide fair assessments, and readers trust the peer review process. So this is how it goes on. This presentation today will discuss the general principles of ethics, which include adherence to ethical guidelines such as Helsinki Declaration, guidelines from organizations like COPE and ICMJE. And some of the principles which we'll be seeing is shown on the right hand side. We'll go one by one. First one, let us see the various ethics recommending bodies. They are the Open Access Scholarly Publishing Association, Directory of Open Access Journals, Committee on Publication Ethics, International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, and World Association of Medical Editors. So what is the beauty of this recognizing bodies? Their principles of transparency. What are they? It can be from journal content to journal practices to organization and business practices. For example, coming to journal content, here we can see a journal's name is unique. The website protects users and has high professional standards. The publishing schedule is clear and kept to practice. Preservation of the journal content is clearly indicated. Copyright terms for published contents are clear. And licensing information is a policy and on published articles. It goes on. Principle is the authorship and contributorship. Any potential conflicts of interest that might affect an editor's objectivity or impartiality when handling a submission should be disclosed. Editors should step aside from the evaluation process or look for another editor if there is a conflict of interest. Coming to this famous thing, ghost author versus gift author. Ghost authorship occurs when an individual who has significantly contributed to and participated in the development of specific scientific work is not listed as an author after publication. So this usually happens when there is a difference of opinion between you and the other co-worker, or something, and you come to know of it only when you're searching for some other articles. The other one is the gift or the guest author or unfair authorship. When somebody who did not contribute in any way to the research and writing, but his name is included in the author list. So this is mostly to confer the credibility for the journal, and not mostly, but many times, the people who come here is their HOD or their PhD supervisors. Okay. So the authorship defined by ICMJE, the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, says that significant contribution to the concept, design, collection, analysis, and interpretation of the study. The criteria, the 3 criteria that an author needs to be met. Writing study template or revision in terms of intellectual content. The final approval of the version to be publication. Next one is the conflict of interest, which is a situation in which an entity or individual becomes unreliable because of a clash between personal interest and professional duties or responsibilities. So it occurs when the ethical approval had not been obtained contrary to a statement in the paper, and that the reported study was completed under the cover of ethics approval granted to a different study. And this may arise also when a funded research study has been submitted as a research paper without mentioning the funding source. So process which when there is undeclared COI, conflict of interest, so it is a duty of the reviewer to inform the concerned person or the editor who contact the authors and express the concern. So the author might either accept and give the COI details, or initially the author can deny, where the need for COI can be explained by the editor, and finally it can go for publication. Better to always to get a signed statement of conflict of interest from all the authors before publication. Next, the most important thing, the scientific misconduct, which means fabrication, falsification, plagiarism, or other practices that seriously deviate from those that are commonly accepted within the scientific community for proposing, conducting, or reporting research. Plagiarism is a false depiction of another person's words, ideas, or expressions as one's own unique work. It occurs when you incorporate someone else's ideas or work on your own without giving them due credit. So there are a few softwares which can detect the plagiarism. And at this juncture, I would like to give an example of myself. When I started my first publication, which was a review one of my concern with my PhD work. So what I did was, I didn't know any clue. I didn't consult my PhD boss also. So I consulted a few of my friends, took some 10 journals, 10 articles, copy paste. Of course, in the reference, I put all the references, whatever I took it, and then I sent for publication. So I received a mail within a day or two, a threatening mail from the chief editor saying that my paper will be retracted and I'll be sued in the court because it shows 99% of plagiarism. Luckily, the chief editor happened to be my super senior. So I called him and I asked, what is the problem? I told, you are the problem. Don't even know to write a review. Have you ever heard of this word plagiarism? I told, no. I was so innocent at that time. I told, no. Then he told me how to write and what all the things to be done. That's what I learned. And now with 40 plus publications, so those who do mistakes, they can do better. So that's my story. So the approximate percentage of scientific misconduct, you can see here 24% is about the written publications, 16% is about animal welfare concerns, and others author disputes and duplicate publications. So better to avoid all the scientific misconduct. And this scientific misconduct can usually result from negligence, carelessness, and citation bias. A failure to adequately review the literature on a topic before research, lack of candor or completeness in describing one's research methods, presentation of data that are based on faulty statistical analysis, citation of articles without having read the primary sources, selective citation of only those articles that support a particular point of view, and selective citation to enhance one's reputation epitomized by self-citation. So here's an example of type 1 and type 2 error. So difference between true positive and false positive, and the difference between true negative and a false negative. Coming to redundant publication, which is also called duplicate publication. It is a publication of a paper, research work that overlaps substantially with one that has already been published, or two articles share the same hypothesis, results, and conclusions. The authors are trying to reach readers who may not be familiar with the already published article. This usually happens if it is in another language, mainly Chinese, Russian, etc. And plagiarism is the verbatim copying of or reuse of one's own research publication in the next future articles. Author is not allowed to reuse previously published material when rights have been assigned to the publisher, and hence the authors are assigned to sign copyright or declaration form. Use of previously published work without permission or without citing reference is a violation of copyright. And these are the huge list. I'm not going to read out everything. This is just to show there is a penalty towards the various stages of plagiarism. Okay, so up to 10%, there is no penalty, and in my case, it would have been very severe because it was more than 98% plagiarism. So 10 to 40%, you can revise the manuscript within 6 months, and if it is more than that, you might be debarred from submitting it, and it can go above also, cancellation of registration too. Coming to falsification and fabrication. Falsification is a manipulating the research materials, equipments, or process or results such that the result is not accurately represented in the research record, but made to appear significant in the research paper. Whereas fabrication is a construction or addition or deletion of the data observations or characterization that never occurred in the gathering of data or running of experiments, more commonly called as cooked up, usually cooked up values. Why does this occur? Why we do falsification and fabrication of the data? Because my hypothesis tells positive and my result shows negative, or vice versa. Sometimes I submitted my negative or positive results to my higher authority and they insisted me to change the data. This usually happens in many cases. And coming to impartiality and confidentiality. The editors must maintain confidentiality in the review process and should be unbiased when considering all manuscript proceedings for the editorial process. Sorry for the background noise. I told them not to do it, and still. Any data or analysis presented in a submitted manuscript should not be used in a journal's editor's own research without the consent of the author. Copyright and intellectual property. Copyright regulations and intellectual property rights must be respected by the editors. They should make sure that any copyrighted items used in the manuscripts, including pictures, figures, or extensive quotations, have the correct permits and licenses. Nowadays, the students just Google it, take some pictures and put it on, even they print it in the poster. When we as a judge go and ask them, they just blink. They ask what is copyright and what permission. So it's like that nowadays, and the faculty who's guiding should be giving proper advice to them. So editorial board and peer review. Editors must lay down certain rules and regulations for the editing staff and peer reviewers. They should choose reviewers based on their experience, guarantee fair and objective reviews of the paper. I usually get invitation from many journals, and I reject them because unless it is biochemistry, molecular biology, or medical education, or immunology, my field of study. Sometimes zoology comes, physiology. Okay, physiology is no problem. Physiotherapy comes. I straight away reject them. I'm not a subject expert. So that should be the way it should be done. And disclosure and conflict of interest. The editor and the members of the editorial board of the journal shall not use unpublished material disclosed in a submitted manuscript for their own research. This 100% not fair. Strong academic competitiveness between researchers or research groups may result in biased editorial decision. A whistleblower. Who is this whistleblower? Can be anyone in a lab, in the field, or participating in other research who sees something that does not seem right and comes forward to report it. But many times they get a bad name. For example, someone who might see a research making up, cooking up, or changing data, plagiarism, or manipulating a figure in a publication or a grant application. So it is being brought to the knowledge of the higher authority. Before you decide to blow the whistle, you have to consider these three things, very important ones. Number one is necessity. Do you feel it is necessary to expose the misconduct? Is it relevant? Is it the need of the hour? Number two, obligation. Do you have a moral obligation to report it? Number three, consequences. Are you prepared for the consequences that may result both for you and the accused? Usually the consequences are not usually good for the whistleblowers. And so we have an act in the legislative department. So the Whistleblowers Protection Act 2014. So the details I may not be having some time to go to it. You can have a look. What is publication retraction? Retraction is a public statement made about an earlier statement that withdraws, cancels, refutes, or reverses the original statement. The retraction may be initiated by the editors of a journal or by the authors of the papers or the institutions also. The most common reasons for retraction of articles are scientific misconduct, including plagiarism, serious efforts, and duplicate or concurrent publishing. Every single case of fraud and misconduct reduces the publication confidence, abuses the use of public and charitable funds, and causes insult and frustration to the vast majority of careful and honest workers. So, in a nutshell, so we are seeing the ethics in publication. So, ethical conduct should be strictly followed not only when carrying out a research activity, but also when disseminating its results through publication in science journals. So, some of the examples which we have seen in today's presentation: redundant and duplicate publication, plagiarism, falsification of data, conflict of interest, and authorship problems like ghost author and gift author. And this ethics affects the authorship, declaration of interest, peer review, and privacy and confidentiality. And we also saw the tools for authors and editors, mainly the various ethical bodies. Okay, so coming to the last. So do or die, publish or perish. It's everywhere it is told like this, but now times are changing, and now the concept is also changing. Now we are in the world of digital artificial intelligence, and even ChatGPT has taken over everything. Now the concept of do or die has changed to don't die till you do, and publish or perish has changed to don't perish till you publish. Thank you.
Thank you, Ananda sir, for such a updated version of ethical practices. We have been looking about ethical practices, but the issues are never ending. So it is really well addressed topic, is what I feel. So going ahead, I would like to announce the results for our first poll, which was taken. That how many percentage of people felt that now they'll publish in national journals over. So the results are encouraging. About 62% poll results are in favor of publishing in national journals, as compared to 38%, which suggests that they will publish internationally. So, Jyotsna ma'am, your comments?
Ketki ma'am, yes, ma'am, actually I'm traveling. It was great to hear you. And Ananta sir, you have put up very right points. Yeah, ethics are very important in publishing, and we have to keep it in mind before publishing. Right, sir, it was a great presentation and a really thought-provoking. Thank you, Ketki ma'am. Thank you, Anand sir.
Thank you,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So, well, there are certain questions in Q&A box, and time to do some brainstorming. So there are certain questions I can allot it randomly, or how to do it. Like, sir, will you pick up your questions?
Yes, sir, please update on NMC approved publications at reasonable rates. See, you can Google it, and every year it keeps on changing from April to March. Okay, better you can Google and find by yourself. Now they have come down to UGC approval also. Can rates and all, I'm not familiar, it keeps on changing. I know the rates of Scopus. Minimum starts from 17,000, including the GST. Other things, but there are sir told in Indian publications with good Scopus or with impact factor, they do it free of cost if you are a student. So that's always there. Research has to grant financial aid. Most medical institutes don't provide any financial aid. Of course, I'm also working in a medical college. They don't provide any financial aid. You have to do with your own money. But if you're a student, you can go for the ICMR STS project, student short-term project. So where they give 10,000, 50,000 as the seed money if your project is selected. Can thesis topic be presented in conference prior to getting the degree? Of course. Actually, if you are doing an MD, there is like a short presentation and long presentation. So before you go for the Viva, you're supposed to send your article for at least publication, and you have to get the acceptance. And if you're an MSc or PhD student, you have all the rights to publish. But don't do salami slicing, okay? That's not accepted. And early reply from reviewers need to hold interest in publication. Of course, nowadays the reviewers are given 1 week or 2 week time only. Even IESR, they are giving only 2 weeks time, and within that we have to. Nowadays it is streamlined, I think. I think that's all. Any other questions, ma'am?
Yeah. So Nishant sir,
Yes.
I would personally like to know that, Scopus is hosting those inspections, and certain journals are like removed from the Scopus every now and then. So it's not just the Indian thing, but yes, Indian journals also are always under that Scopus vigilance all the time. So how an author can decide whether he has to go with a particular Scopus index journal or not, and if the journal is removed, so will the author get indexation because he has published it when it was in Scopus?
Yes. See, the thing is, the rules cannot be applied in retrospect. Now, if you have published when the journal was Scopus indexed, it will be recognized by NMC. Now, say when you publish in, say, 15 and 16, 2015 and 16, yes, at that time, the journal was Scopus indexed. So that will be counted as an index publication. Now, if the Scopus is removed, say, from 2019 onwards, and now you're publishing in Scopus, so that it won't be recognized. And normally, there's an overlap of a year or so. So it's not that whenever recognition is granted, it is usually granted from 1 year. So if the recognition is granted in 2015, so usually it is the 14-15 which is usually covered, and they give again a grace period. So when they say that it is not being recognized from this period, so that means that there's again a grace period. So any publication within that period when the journal was Scopus recognized will be recognized by it.
Okay, and so similar.
You have to make sure that at that particular time, or when it is being published, the journal has to be indexed with that particular image.
Okay. So in between also they cannot remove a journal from Scopus, like in middle of the year or so. That is not done.
It depends. It depends. So whenever they hold their this thing, they may say, okay, from this period, from June onwards, it is no longer Scopus recognized. So they will specify when they have recognized it and then they have removed it from their recognition. So that is important, and all this information is available on the website.
Yeah, so authors really need to be vigilant about, where they are publishing. Have a research on this topic also first before doing a research.
Just to give an example, I had 2 articles published in Journal of in an Indian journal, one in February and one in November. So my Feb one is not PubMed indexed, but my November one is PubMed indexed. In the same year, two original articles published in the same journal. The February one is not in PubMed index. It is not there in the PubMed database, but the October one is in the PubMed database. So that happens.
Yes, that happens. Well, we also have questions regarding how to know, predatory journals. How can we find out cloning, etc.?
Yeah. So predatory journal there are lots of predatory journals nowadays. So that is why indexing and impact factor or the site factor are important. So the predatory journals will probably show you, okay, you send us your article, you pay the fee, and within 14 days, your article would be published and we'll send you the proof, right? So they usually don't follow, or they follow a sham peer review process. So that is there, and again, there won't be any impact factor or any side factor for these journals, or no indexing whatsoever.
I want to add
one of the important things, because they just take DOAJ. Now DOAJ is NMC recognized, but then you just pay a small fee and you can get your article published.
Yes.
There is one question here, sir. I would like to read it for you.
Yeah.
If the study was carried out at the time when the ethics committee was not existent, now if the same research is to be published, what can be done? As all the journals are asking for ethics committee approval, what is the remedy?
See, the thing is, ethics committee has been there since 2009, 2010. It has been mandatory by NMC also, by other institutions also. Now, what I would say is that if you can always say, or you can get a retrospective IEC approval. That is one way of doing it, but then all the RCTs and interventional studies need to be registered prospectively with CTRI. Now, most of the journals will not accept such an old study as well, because now with the medical field changing so fast, they will say that the study that was done, say 10 years ago or even 3 years ago is now redundant, or there are many such publications which are already there. So that is where, I mean, the problem lies. So you can always go in and say, okay, fine, at that time, our hospital did not have an institutional ethical committee, but this is a study which we had done. So if IEC provides it retrospectively, it can be done, but I doubt that that would make matters this thing, because that is the fault of the institution, not of the researcher.
Okay, sir.
Madam, I have to add one point. Into Nishant's answer just before it. Actually, everyone is confused about the predatory and good journal and the quality of the journal. So all the points will greatly mentioned in his presentation. But a very simple procedure is to go through the website. If the journal is good and following all the transparency and research integrity practices, then they can mention everything on the website. What is the abstracting of that journal? What is the indexing of that journal? What policies they follow? What is the charges they are taking? Every information they are giving. The good journal, which is even every journal which is good, and index journal, they can share every information on the website itself. Even evaluating agencies like PubMed and other Scopus, etc., they are evaluating on the basis of the transparency practices of the journal which is following. So it is most easiest part that if you want to don't want to confuse yourself with that where to publish, you just thoroughly study the website and you can find answer very easily.
I'm
Yes,
right.
ma'am, but
Put up a point because I have seen in innovative journals, they are putting the citation also. So that is a one positive point. So author can relate where he or she is getting the maximum citations, because now these days citations are very, very important for any publishing for any article. And that is a good point that we have added in that, are in innovative journals.
no, but one lucrative thing that traps, the traps of immediate publishing, get your article published within 3 days, 5 days, 8 days. So, sir, those who are there with us, I would like, sir, you to elaborate on the timing that is required, like minimum timing to get published in a good journal, because this is the trap that most of them falls for.
See, PubMed says that it has to be minimum 3 to 6 months for a research publication.
Yes.
So minimum 3 months. If you are approving an article before 3 months, that means it has not gone through the rigor of peer review, a proper editorial review, and it has not been studied properly. So minimum 3 months is the period that you require for a PubMed index journal. So that is the thing.
And coming back to the same question of how much they charge for the Scopus index, on behalf of them, I would like to place one humble request to IESR, especially to Jas sir. See, now one by one, each of the if your journal is getting indexed to Scopus, so keep the price a little bit low.
Sir, for especially the IASRF and other institution journals, what happen is every policy, as I mentioned you, is mentioned on the website. So if just like the waiver policies are also great for researchers and even the associated editors and other researchers, scholars, etc. So just go through that and then connect with the proper way with the editorial office actually, so they can even they can even consider for the great and good article, they have a good procedures for the publication without APCs and waiver policies too.
Thank you.
There is another question from Dr. Anupama Murthy. She says that early reply from reviewers needed to hold interest in publication. So that is what we were talking about, that many of the journals, especially the free PubMed or free Scopus journals, they do not revert. Sometimes we, because of their delayed reply, we withdraw the articles, although they are good journals. So is there any specific difference between the turnaround time for free PubMed journals and paid PubMed and Scopus journals, sir?
Nishanji, please.
Sorry, can you repeat it once? Free and paid, I missed the question a bit.
Yeah, sir, actually there is a question in the chat box which says that, delayed reviewer comments needs to be corrected. And then I also have seen that, free journals, they take a lot more time than sometimes more than 3 months also. So in such cases, what is the right policy? Should we wait and watch, or should we withdraw and, go to others?
No, you should wait and watch. You should always wait and watch. See, peer review, normally the peer reviewers do not get any honorarium or anything.
Yes.
They are doing it out of their own interest. Maybe the paid journals, they pay for peer review because they're charging. I do not know. But yes, some journals do pay for review. The free journals do not pay you for review. And usually, sometimes it so happens is that you invite the reviewers don't respond, then you have to re-invite the reviewers. So it takes process. And the peer review process says that you should have at least the reports of 2 reviewers before you can take a decision. So sometimes that does take time. And once you have allotted, say, 14 days, 15 days to a particular reviewer, you have to wait for their response, whether they accept it or reject it or don't answer at all, before you can call in new reviewers. So it does take time. Sometimes it takes as long as 6 months also. But then if you have submitted to a good journal, if you have submitted to an index journal, you should wait before withdrawing. You should wait. See, the peer review quality that you're going to get is going to benefit you when you resubmit it to any other journal.
Yes.
Actually, I had a challenging experience with the Scopus journal. Initially, when we tried to submit our publication, it was a free journal. They told us free. It was a national survey, and around 12 authors from each and every part of the country were involved in that. So they took around 1.5 years to give the report. Some 3 reviewers were involved. When they accepted it, they wanted us to pay money. So already we are running short of time. So what to do? Each author paid some amount, and then we paid around 17,000 rupees to publish that article.
That too happens, and I guess this discussion can go on and on and on. There is no limit to the questions, and the given scenario, there are many challenges that we are facing. Well, any live questions, sir? You both needs to address, or we can also reach them on mail.
Ananda, there are two questions for you. They are interesting questions. There is about professional misconduct. So there is this one which says that if some author has published the same article in 2 different journals, which is the competent authority where this complaint against such an author can be registered, and what is the punishment for such an act?
Initially, retraction will be the first thing to be done, and it depends upon their policies, the journal's policies. They can even they can sue him, or they can even ask him to make some fine.
No, but whom to complain against? ISMG or the editor-in-chief of the journals?
That you only should say, sir.
I think the first thing is that you drop in a letter to the editor-in-chiefs of the journals, because then they can take an action. If they don't respond, then I think ISMG is the ultimate body which takes these decisions. But usually if you write a letter to the editor-in-chief, that should be resolved then and there only. And sometimes it so happens that even I have done it. There was this interesting case which was published by the pediatric surgeons in a pediatric surgery journal, and we have published the same case in an anesthesiology journal, but then we had reference that we have already published this. Now the viewpoint was different. They focus on the surgical aspect of the case, we focus on the anesthetic aspect of the case. So it was the same case published in 2 journals, but then this was pre-informed to both the editor-in-chiefs, okay, that this particular case is being submitted twice, and we acknowledge the surgeons has acknowledged us in their publication. So it may appear to the reader that the same case is being published in 2 different journals, but actually the perspective or the discussion may be quite different. So again, that you have to take into account.
Okay.
I'd also like to say that the editor has the last word. So if you have any doubt about professional misconduct, any ethical issues, you should contact the editor first. They are the best people to deal with that. And just one more thing about ICMR funding. We all want funds, and I'm happy to say that from last year, ICMR STS is getting 25,000 per month. So last year, students got 50,000 rupees, which is a good amount for an undergraduate. And just very quickly, if I can share one interesting incident, Dr. Ketki.
Sure, ma'am, by all means.
So I had an intern with me. We saw an interesting case, and on busy rounds, he said, I want to publish. So I just scribbled on a paper, IJCEO, Indian Journal of Clinical and Experimental Ophthalmology. It's a scopus based in a journal. And I said, send it to this. Smart boy went back and in the evening submitted to International Journal of Clinical and Experimental Ophthalmology. Comes back after a few days and says, ma'am, they're asking for $1,849 US. So I fell off and I felt like beating him when I realized he's gone to an international journal. And then he was saying, no, international is always better. High time we Asians and Indians get out of this mindset that international is always better than Indian. It is not. And the same case report in Indian journal would have cost 3,000 rupees, which an intern can well afford, 3,000 rupees. Anyway, we went through all that trauma. Finally, it was published in this International Journal of Clinical and Experimental Ophthalmology. I was horrified to see the impact factor was less than 1. And impact factor indexing, everything was worse than the Indian journal. So our rates are far better. Please look. Now, I think the obstetrics journal also is Scopus indexed. If you publish in these, definitely you will get your promotions on time.
Yes. Well said. Well, last question.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Excuse me, Ketki ma'am, can I add a few words?
Of course, ma'am.
Sorry, actually I am driving, but this was music to my ears. I have stopped. And really, every time I listen to these topics, I think I am very knowledgeable. But every time I find new things, even with so much of experience, and especially for Dr. Nanda. Dr. Nanda, you said ki ISRF innovative that Scopus journal articles should be lesser charged. They are, I think, if Nikita ma'am agrees with me, they have not increased the charges of the journals which have been Scopus indexed. You can check it. And moreover, problem with the Indian journals is that nowadays it's different, but the research, the type of the research, the innovative research, and the quality of the research, it has to be at par. Now the scenario has changed, and the young generations, they are doing now good. So obviously, the one thing, Dr. Nishant, I'm really thankful to you, especially when you talked of the demographic approach and for publishing in that Indian journals. That is really an eye opener. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation, Dr. Kirti, Dr. Jyotsna, Dr. Hannah ma'am, and the speakers, and everybody, Nikita ma'am. Thank you so much. I loved my driving so much today. I have stopped. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Babita ma'am, our chat box also agrees to you. There are people who are liking brainstorm session a lot. They are commenting that it's really sizzling brainstorm session. Thank you everyone for appreciation.
Yes, I'm literally on a highway. I'm at the literally stopped the vehicle.
Ma'am, please be safe.
I am safe, but it was so interesting. I could not stop myself. Thank you so much. Congratulations, everybody.
Can someone briefly discuss about Curious Journal? Nowadays that is coming everywhere, sir. What is it, Curious? What is it, sir?
Even we heard that, sir.
Yeah, I deleted the mail immediately after seeing that.
Someone was asking that they charge a lot of money. They charge around, I think, 40 to 45,000, and they publish it within 1 month.
Yes,
and it is PubMed indexed. So the thing is that sorry.
Within 10 days, it's published.
Okay. And it is PubMed indexed, but PubMed indexation says that you have to have a peer review for at least 3 months for the print journals at least.
And sir, now these days, a new thing is coming that they will ask you for less charges, but they will say ki hum aapka back issue mein will get your article printed. So that is also which is coming now these days.
Coming, and then they'll say, okay, this is the color photograph that you want to print. We'll charge you extra for that. You have crossed the number of free words, so we'll charge you extra for that. So, but it is
actually, I have been through this Curious submission. It's very enticing because they say it's PubMed index. It will be done in 10 days, and it depends on the level of errors in your article. So my student went through the level of errors, and I said, you will have minimum errors in this, so it should be very, very cheap. However, they find something and push you to the highest level of errors so that you have to pay the maximum fees. I don't know anyone who has published for free in that. And it's not looked upon as a good journal to publish in. Definitely our institution, AIMS, and other institutions of repute look down on such journals.
No, Curious is...
But there is a specific amount of audience who just want in Curious, especially the student, because of, they want to get quick reviews and quick publications. Because I run, I'm associated with many students, they are only Curious these days. So I guess it's a marketing strategy.
Few faculties also, they are also keen for this because they get up at the time of promotion. And then they want within 10 days or so.
Yes.
So they have their own marketing strategies.
Yes,
how to
this
get
is more marketing, I guess. And ma'am, but if you see their process, it's not very simple. They are, even while uploading, they are having lot of things to do. So, they check quality and all, that is for sure. But this charging thing and this marketing, I think they're paying to the reviewers also. That is why they may be charging.
Maybe, ma'am.
I've got no idea.
Yeah. So we right now, we all are curious about Curious, but it is it is better to go with authentic sources before you actually know what the pothole lies in the way. Also with the new advent of AI tools. So Nishant sir, do you have anything to say upon excess use of Quillbolt and ChatGPT to frame the research papers?
No,
because
most of the journals now, they say that you have to make a disclosure if any part of your manuscript was generated using AI or ChatGPT. So again, now it is becoming very difficult, but yes, the international journals now have found out a way to find out whether you had used AI or ChatGPT, because there are tools So you can be caught if you're using AI or ChatGPT. So you have to be careful. If you're using it, please declare it. And if you're not declaring it and if you're caught, I think it constitutes a scientific misconduct.
Also, Turnitin says another day, a meeting with Turnitin, they say that they are going to launch that feature in Turnitin wherein, AI-related plagiarism would be detected.
It will be detected, yes.
Yes. So I want
actually, some people are saying that the plagiarism software cannot detect ChatGPT. But in a session, I heard that if you put the same thing in ChatGPT and ask, have you done this? It says yes.
Yes, exactly. So that is what they are doing now. The most authenticate and all cannot detect AI or ChatGPT, but the ChatGPT will tell you.
Yeah, I think that's a whole topic for the next symposium, perhaps. AI and ChatGPT, as researchers, as faculty, we have to know, because this is the future of research.
Agreed, madam.
Correct. So now is the time for the second poll of the day, and I would like to request Nikita ma'am to show us the second poll. Ma'am, this is done. So these are the results, and
this is the result of first.
Yes. So after your presentation, many people have changed their mind, at least on our polls. So do we have our second poll, ma'am? Should I read out?
Yeah.
Yeah. So our second poll says that why is ethics important in a publication? You have to make a single choice. First is crucial to the quality of scientific research that is published. B, to protect the dignity, rights, and welfare of research participants. C, promote the values that are essential for a collaborative work. D, A and C. E, A and B, and F is all of the above.
Probably we could have put this in before discussion. We had a long discussion.
Yes. So yeah, till the time our second poll answers are out, we will have our valedictory now. Jha, do you permit me, Nikita ma'am, do you permit me to go for valedictory of today's event?
Please go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah. So I request Dr. Jyotsna ma'am now to please present plaque of appreciation to our eminent speakers, Dr. Nishant sir and Dr. Ananda sir.
Sir, it was really thought-provoking. It is nice to have. I'm really blessed to be present in this event today.
Yes. So do we all, Jyotsna ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Is the certificate is visible?
No, ma'am, it's not on the bigger screen.
It's screen.
Now?
Yes, ma'am.
It is visible?
Thank you. Thank you, Ananda sir. A great, wonderful.
Applaud for the speakers.
Yes, actually, it was a brainstorming session.
Dr. Nishant sir, the certificate is visible?
No, ma'am, not yet. Thank you, Nishant sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
For clearing so many doubts today.
Thank you.
Still our message box is flooding, if you all can
actually.
Yeah, so Nikita ma'am, we are able to reach maximum people with maximum doubt solving. That's the agenda for ISRF ResearchCON. So now I would like to request Dr. Jha sir to present token of love to our chairperson of today's event, Dr. Jyotsna Seth ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for being such an enthusiastic chair.
Ma'am, it is always good to see you. You are such an energetic and positive person. Thank you, Nikita ma'am, to make a part of this event. It was really fruitful. Me to attend this, actually.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And now we are presenting a plaque. I request Dr. Hannah Madam to present a plaque of appreciation to Dr. Ketki Madam.
A most energetic, versatile.
Achha, thank you, ma'am. That's mutual admiration.
Always smiling.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for
Thank you. Keep smiling, ma'am, always.
Thank you for having me. Yes, and participants are asking कि आपका तो बहुत हो गया. Please give certificates to the participants.
So after the second session on 14th, we will provide, everyone is able to download their certificate, participation certificate through website. We will share the link. And there is another session tomorrow. I want to share the details of that session. Is my screen is visible?
No. Not yet, ma'am.
Actually, so tomorrow, yeah, Dr. Ketki.
Yeah, so thank you one and all for being there today with such a energy and enthusiasm. So we expect the same zest for tomorrow's lecture series, where we have scheduled much more interesting talks by the finest minds in the field. So see you all tomorrow sharp at 4 p.m. And don't miss anything. This is really going to benefit you all a lot, and us all too. So Nikita ma'am, can we have results for the second poll by now? Okay, so of course, yeah. So 67% of the population feels that everything is, ethics are important for everything, and that's what we all agree to.
Yes, thank you. Sorry for inconvenience, because due to some technical reason, we are not able to show the videos today for IESRF recent work done by the great members of ISRF who works hard for the research fraternity of our nation. And our motto is to promote maximum research integrity in the national academic publication. So we will share it tomorrow by show, and we stay tuned. We look after for your presence for tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ketki Madam. Thank you, every one of you. Dr. Ketki.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, and have a great evening ahead. And I think most of you might have come up with some research paper. I actually recommend that by the end of ResearchCon, you all should actually work upon some project so that, you will receive a hands-on experience. We have Scopus Index journals with us, and take the maximum utilization of it, guys. Have a great evening ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ketki ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Anand sir, Nishant sir. Thank you, Ketki.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nikita ma'am.
Tomorrow we'll expect one shairi from Josh sir.
Yeah. For sure.